What's going on, gamers? HLYWUD here, and I'm going to run you through a quick video on updating your settings in the AMD Adrenalin software as well as the WarThunder game to get a great high performance frame rate so that way you can have smooth gameplay, great visuals, and if you want to use this as your way to be streaming, that would actually allow you to get a decent frame rate while streaming as well. Now, I initially had some problems right away when I got upgraded to the 9070 XT, and what I found out was I was running my settings all wrong, and I was doing some research and found out that I was, customizing a bunch of things that I didn't need to customize. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a simple way. This is not going in depth in settings. So if you're looking for something to tweak every little piece of setting, that's not what this is. This is a simple way to get you good quality while also having good performance and being able to game or stream and game from the same PC. This is not a dual PC setup. So the first thing that we need to do is open up our Adrenalin software. So in Adrenalin, you're going to see I have WarThunder pulled up here, and you can see that my average FPS shows 60. Now, the reason for that is because I have my FPS locked in for 60 frames a second based on my monitor because I have a 60 hertz monitor right now. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm only going to get 60 frames a second in the game. That just means that my monitor and what outputs to me is typically only going to be about 60 frames a second. The game itself can be quite a bit higher. So if you have a higher refresh rate monitor, this is going to help you greatly. Now, one of the things that people will tell you is go through all these different settings, read all the different things, but this is not that video. This is the video to show you how it's simple to come in and get your game set up in order to have the best quality possible. So the first thing you want to do, and pretty much the only thing you want to do, is in this gaming experience, you have a bunch of settings here. You have the global experience, you have default, you have Hyper RX Eco, you have quality, and then you have the Hyper RX. I recommend going with quality. If you don't want to tweak all the settings and trying to do all this testing and you want to make it easier for yourself, just choose quality, and that's going to set up Adrenalin to give you the best possible quality for the game without really hurting your performance. That's basically it for Adrenalin. I know, super simple. We're not going into a whole bunch of different things. Just change the setting and be done. So now we need to open up WarThunder. All right, so now that we have WarThunder opened up, what we want to look at here is the settings within WarThunder for your graphics settings. So we want to go up to the options, go up here, go to graphics, and now I do have 4K monitors. I highly recommend that you set your resolution to the same resolution that your monitor is in, so that way you don't run into any other issues. Now, the reason I say that is because if you are in fact going through and trying to get the best performance possible, and you try to set your resolution to anything other than what your monitor is, you're going to have tearing. And that tearing is going to make you either A, drop a bunch of frames, or B, you're going to run into a bunch of other issues. Now, I have heard people that say you can drop it down to 2K or drop it down to 1080, but the hard part about that is that you're going to get graining, you're going to get jagged edges, it's not going to look very clean. And if you have a good enough system that can run your CPU and GPU, at the highest possible performance, you're going to be great. There are also some people that will say, hey, we don't recommend running DirectX 3D 12. You should run DirectX 3D 11. I've been running 12 consistently and I have not had any problems. If you don't like the idea of running 12, that's on you. I'm not telling you have to do one or the other. This is just the settings that I have set. So my monitor is auto-selected because I just play on the one monitor. You could select this if you want to, but for the top section, this is where we're at. I use the FXAA HQ. This is the high quality anti-aliasing. This is the setting that I found works the best for me to have it look nice. Anisotropy is set to 8 times. You can go up to 6 times, but keep in mind that is likely going to be a bit of a performance hit. So don't put yourself in that situation where you're going to get a performance hit just on that. SSAA is off. I do have the Radeon anti-lag on. This is actually really great because I've noticed with it off, I do have sometimes where my mouse doesn't keep up with that. Now, if we go down to the quality, I don't have this preset. You can do the benchmark, you can preset it, and some people will like to preset it to the 60 frames a second. I don't do that. I just do all the custom. Texture quality is high, shadow quality is very high, water quality high. Like you can see I've got most everything set to either mid, or like a lot of the reflection quality and things like that is set to mid. If you wanted to, you know, you could come up and you could put this all to high and have good reflections. But I personally like it as medium, because I'm not looking at those little details as much in this game. I'm more about the gameplay and the smoothness. Now with the effects resolution, this is also personal preference. I like it being set to high, good visuals when you're looking at other tanks. All of these other things are all set right up to the max. Tire and track marks, I didn't see much of a visual difference with these, so I left these to high. Because I mean, if you go to medium, it's not much of a difference. It's only when you go to low that it's a difference. I personally like having it set to high. If you don't want that performance hit, you can go down if you want. But as you're looking, most everything's maxed out. Tree range, I didn't max out because it does get pretty heavy. Same thing with grass range. It can get pretty heavy when you max it out. I have advanced shore on. I have far terrain details. The game just looks amazing this way. This is the big one here. Ray tracing is going to be your biggest downfall when it comes to performance, especially if you're going to do any recording or streaming or anything like that. You don't want ray tracing on. It is going to hurt your performance greatly. So I would recommend leaving that off. If you want to leave it on, or somebody else tells you, oh no, use it, it's great, to each their own. I'm not here to tell you you can't use it, but in my experience, and you will see when I go through my gameplay, having it off runs quite a bit smoother. I don't use VR, so VR mode is off. And then as far as performance metrics, I just have FPS on. That's all I'm looking at. Motion blur strength I have down to nothing, and then I cancel camera motion blur. This is a controversial topic. Some people say that motion blur doesn't have performance impact, but in my experience, it does. It's not just performance impact in the game in terms of your quality, but it's also performance impact in your actual gaming play style, because with the motion blur, you're going to have times where what you see may not be as clear as you want it. And that could, I mean, especially in a game like War Thunder, you could easily have some missed shots. So that's the settings there. Let's go ahead and go to getting into a match. All right. So what I did here is I put into a match where it is raining, so you can see the performance of having extra weather effects and things like that around. And as we can see, as I move around here, we have very silky, smooth movement. We're not tearing. We're not losing any frames. You know, you're still going to get a little bit of a blur as you move, but you can notice the motion blur is not all that bad. And once I start driving here, you can see that we have very, very nice visuals. We got the mud coming off the tires. You can see the rain coming down and splashing up off the mud. You can see it splashing into the water as well. And then here, this is where a lot of people lose frames, right? You got the water, and then as you go through the water, that splashing usually drops the frames. If you notice down on the corner, you can see that the frames are holding steady around that 160, 180, sometimes upwards of 200. And then as we're shooting, we can see that we're getting, you know, a decent rate here. So there we go. We can see the flames. Normally, that's another spot that people lose their frames because all the smoke and the flames, and we can see it looks really good there. So as we keep going further, this is where some people also lose, is when they get into their zoom and they start not being able to see the distance. But as we go through, you know, we can take a look and see, you can watch your shot go all the way over. You're getting good visuals, and even as I zoom in, you can see that tank way up there. And so that's where, you know, we're not dropping all the frames that people normally would be dropping. The other thing too is a lot of times what gets people is when they're driving around. As you're driving, you're looking around, you're moving around, and you typically drop frames there, or when you have other tanks along with you. So I did do this as a test drive. Obviously, this is not a live battle because I'm doing a recording and don't want to go through a whole live battle with my recording. But you can see this while I'm recording, I'm anywhere from 160 to almost 200 frames. I would say this is probably easy mode. Get your game set up so that way you can get into gaming, get streaming, and get it rolling. That's my biggest recommendation, is just go in, set your Adrenaline app to quality, go into your games and max it out wherever you want to max it out. I mean, here, if you look right on the bottom left, you can see I'm holding steady at 200 frames a second while the rain is falling and all the different visuals. So It definitely works. If you want to tweak all the settings, go for it. But this is more for people that really just wanted to have the easy button to get this going. So thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate it. And if you do like this video, I do have other videos coming soon on my channel that will be with other games like Assetto Corsa Evo and American Truck Simulator and things like that.